So I went and watched this movie last night with a couple of friends, and they didn't even see the first one. So I guess you guys can say that they went in completely blind. So sorry. Oh my god, that's a terrible one. I feel ashamed. Yeah, that one was too soon. I fully realize that now. Good man. How's it going, everybody? My name is Zack, and I love talking cinema and all things entertainment. And as always, I really do appreciate you guys stopping by the channel today. I really hope you enjoy your stay, because this time around, I went back to my local theater to check out Don't Breathe 2. Yes, this is the sequel to the ultra-brilliant 2016 thriller directed by Fede Alvarez. But this time around, Alvarez only holds writing credits, but it's directed by his co-writer, Rodo Sayagues. And it once again stars Stephen Lang as the monstrous blind man from the first film. And this guy has since been named Norman. You know, with a name like that in a scary movie, things can only end well. And the sequel is set 8 years following the initial deadly home invasion that we saw a few years ago. And Norman Nordstrom, played by Lang, lives in quiet solace with the daughter he always wanted named Phoenix, all until his past sins catch up to him. Let me get this off my chest real quick, because I know I'm gonna get asked down in the comments, but I love the first film. I obviously love it. I own the Blu-ray. And I think this is certainly one of the most white-knuckled horror films of the past decade. The only real issue I had with that first Don't Breathe film is I feel like the ending dragged on a little bit too long. But it clearly left the door open for this sequel, and we're off to the races. But judging from what occurs in the first film, especially as it pertains to Stephen Lang's character, did a sequel need to happen? Absolutely not. But I can understand where Sony is coming from, because the first film did make a crap ton of money at the box office, so I can totally understand their mindset there. So you guys might be wondering what idea these guys could possibly have with a sequel. So without spoiling too much, how they would achieve the impossible with how the first film concluded especially, how would they continue this story? A T2 redemption arc, of course! Wait, you're telling me it's for this guy? No! Yeah, after the scarring scenes of the blind man going after those teenage girls in the first film, and with what he was planning on doing with them, I know what you're thinking. How could you possibly root for this guy? And I completely agree with you all. That was very difficult for me. One thing I will say is that if this film that I just watched stood by itself, and you take all of the events out of the first Don't Breathe out of the equation, you have a pretty nice white-knuckled thriller, pretty original at that. But this is a sequel, and this protagonist has done a lot of evil shit himself. But I'll be honest, guys, this movie, I think, was fully aware of that. And I don't really think it necessarily rewards this character for what he did in the first film either. I don't want to get into spoilers, but it's very much the opposite. But I can certainly see why people would be turned off by this Terminator 2 approach for this character after all the stuff he pulled in the first film. Just utterly disgusting, like, my word. And give the man credit where it's due. There is no denying how much of a badass Stephen Lang is. And I'm not only saying this as a performer, but in the action scenes, he was really kicking butt. I can't downgrade this film too harshly and say it's terrible when the action is this fun to watch. And these kills are so fucking gruesome. There's one sequence, I can't spoil too much, but all I'll say is that it involves one of the robbers in super glue. Can't say I've ever seen anything like that done before. And I gotta say as well, I loved the little girl who they got to play Phoenix. I believe her name is Madelyn Grace. She killed it, and she was such an easy character to root for. Gotta say, she was extremely crafty as well, which I really give the writers credit for doing. And there's one scene she shares with the robbers towards the end of the first act, which really showcases this craftiness. And it also showcases the sure hand behind the camera. This is some pretty stellar direction, similar to the first film. Long, winding takes through these hallways hopping between certain characters. The villainous characters, I would say, are even more deplorable than the protagonist, which is saying something. So credit at least to the writers for establishing that these are the bad guys. But I gotta admit, guys, this dialogue, oh my gosh. Yeah, this dialogue is among some of the worst I've heard all year. Like, so ungodly cheesy. There's certain things that the robbers will say out loud that I just thought were so damn silly. Like, you would never hear shit like this from anybody in real life. It just made them sound like humongous dweebs, which certainly doesn't help their case with being threatening. And of course, no spoilers, but the ending to this film, oh my god, felt straight out of Rise of Skywalker. I'm not even joking you. And as we're all aware, especially with a story like this, you never rip off Rise of Skywalker. Just ripping that movie off in general is never a good start. So yeah, despite the many glaring issues Don't Breathe 2 has, you know, what with the slightly botched redemption arc of our main character, the horrendous dialogue, there's just too much enjoyable stuff in here for me to say that this is one of the worst horror films of the year. And there's certainly no denying that, especially with the action stuff, this can be a really fun watch for fans of the scaries, big or small. But again, especially if you saw the first film, if you can't get behind Stephen Lang as a character, I totally get it. As I've alluded to, this premise can certainly be very, very iffy. All that being said, I'm gonna give Don't Breathe 2 a C. I know that this grade may sound like a hot take and way too high for this film, but I still really had a good time watching it in the theater. As far as films go in general this year, this is far from the bottom of the barrel. But as always, this is just one guy's opinion. What are your thoughts on Don't Breathe 2? Do you agree with me? Did you hate the premise as much as I did? And I have a question. What are your thoughts on the first film? Do you guys also think that it's one of the instant classic scaries? As you guys know, I love creating this content and discussing cinema and all things entertainment with you guys. So feel free to make some noise down in the comments and let's have some fun. And hey, if this is your first time visiting the channel today, do consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. You know, it is totally free for sure. It really helps get this content out there. And you guys can also be the first ones to know anytime a new upload hits. You know what also really helped me out is hitting that thumbs up on your way out the door. That would be tremendous. And as always, guys, look out for more exciting content hitting this channel very soon. Keep your eye out for my reviews of Free Guy and Respect, also out this weekend. And stay tuned for my big announcement as it goes with my retro playlist this September. And guys, as always, thank you so much for supporting the channel up to this point. You guys are the best. And with all that being said, back talk, commence!